Good day to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for your presence here today. At the outset, let me recognize the Deputy Minister of Finance, Mr. Sfiso Buthelezi. I do need a transition, so forgive me. The Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service, Mr. Tom Moyane, the Director General of the National Treasury, Mr. Lungisa Fuzile, the National Treasury officials here, SARS officials that are present, members of the media. It has been a whirlwind and busy past few days, as you are all aware. We have had to hit the ground running and have already received some briefing, detailed briefing on the preliminary revenue collection figures from Commissioner Moyane and his team. I am humbled at being appointed Minister of Finance, and both the Deputy Minister and I are humbled by the reception we have received from our previous colleagues, the Director General and the Executive Committee of the Department, the SARS Commissioner, as well as the SARS officials with whom we met for about 2 hours this morning. I look forward to working with Commissioner Moyane and the SARS officials going forward. I am sure that I speak on behalf of the Deputy Minister and I when I say we take the responsibility of driving this economy very seriously and with the greatest degree of urgency. Collectively, we can achieve the transformation required in our economy. We are here today to provide the country with the preliminary results of revenue collection for 2016-17 fiscal year. It is important to recall that the printed revenue estimate for 2016-17 announced in February 2016 was 1.175 trillion rand. Based on declining economic outlook in 2016, as detailed in the February 2017 budget documents, this was subsequently revised at the MTBPS to 1.152 trillion rand and further revised downwards at the budget speech this year to 1.144 trillion rand. SARS collects 90% of all government revenue, and hence their achievement that will be announced by the Commissioner today is of national significance. At the outset, I would like to clarify that we will only be covering the issues pertaining to the revenue announcement today. Given the magnitude of the announcement and its importance to South Africa, it is imperative that we focus on the matter at hand. However, I would like to make a few remarks before the Commissioner gives you a more detailed overview. It is important to remember that all South Africans pay tax. Whether they pay tax on their incomes, VAT on goods and services purchased, or corporate tax on the companies they work for, all South Africans contribute towards funding our democracy. South Africans should be proud of their high level of tax compliance. The numbers being reported today bear testimony to the fact that the South African Revenue Service remains an asset of great value to South Africa, with 14,500 employees who are committed to doing their bit in ensuring the fiscal sovereignty for South Africa. SARS has an international stature which is the envy of many, and hence is an asset that we have to cherish and protect. The continued effectiveness of this institution is incumbent on the trust and credibility that it has painstakingly built over many years. I know that many of you are discerning journalists who understand the dynamics of the macroeconomy and the mechanics of the fiscus. As noted in the 2017 National Budget Speech, the projected rate of economic growth is not sufficient to reduce unemployment or impact significantly on poverty and inequality. It falls well short of our NDP goals. I am of the very firm view that to wage a sustained offensive on unemployment, poverty, and inequality, indeed to create the volumes of jobs we need as a country, it is urgent that we return our economy to growing faster, inclusively, and on a sustained basis. I am sure that in the coming weeks, months, and years, we shall have occasion to reflect a little bit more on this, as these three adjectives are vital and related one to the other. One of them without the other two is neither sufficient nor necessary, and neither are the two without the third, but we need all of them working together in order for us to conquer the triple challenges. Before handing over to Commissioner Moyane, let me briefly touch on some key points. It is very important to note that the revenue collected by SARS as of midnight 31 March 2017 has been done in a current economic growth rate of 0.3% as published by Stats SA. The poor economic conditions clearly play their part in our revenue collection ability. The changes we have noticed in the economy mean shifts in the tax bases for various taxes. Changes in the economy may also lead to changes in the behavior of economic agents and taxpayers. Large shifts are likely to lead to significant changes in the short-run buoyancy ratios of various tax types, which can be estimated once the relevant economic aggregates have been measured. SARS has attained annual tax revenue collection growth rates since the financial crisis of close to 10% per annum on average. This growth far exceeds the tax revenue collection growth rates attained by South Africa's peers, and also that of several OECD countries. As government, our focus is now very much on the radical transformation of our economy so that all those who live in South Africa can benefit from that economy. Tough and unpopular choices need to be made to ensure such a vision. The success story of SARS is one we should truly be proud of as a country. As highlighted in the budget speech earlier this year, South Africa has built one of the most effective tax authorities in the developing world. SARS has made huge strides over the past decade in enforcing the law, whilst providing assistance to small businesses and individuals. At the same time, it has ensured that many South Africans are encouraged to comply with their tax obligations without being threatened with penalty. I have been informed that due to SARS' incredible collection efforts, National Treasury was spared from going into the market to borrow money in the past few days. I am mindful that we have a corresponding obligation as government to improve the impact of every rand spent and to eliminate waste, inefficiency, and corruption. To the topic at hand, though, despite difficult economic times, our SARS officials were not to be distracted, but focused on the task at hand and were able to induce both individual South Africans as well as corporates to pay their taxes and thus fulfill our obligations to the Republic. SARS has been asked to achieve an ambitious target in such challenging economic times. So if we were to achieve this or get close to it, a heroic effort would have been required. Looking on from outside the financial family previously, I knew that whilst this was a challenging task, it was certainly not insurmountable. Let me reiterate my hope that each and every South African appreciates the importance of the South African Revenue Service and its work. Given the economic situation as highlighted in the budget speech a few weeks ago, and by the South African, by the Reserve Bank Governor, Lesetja Kganyago, recently, South Africa can ill afford to borrow more than we budgeted for. SARS is an absolutely critical fiscal organization in this country, and the Republic needs it to work well. I thank you. I shall now hand over to the Commissioner to take on from where I left. Thank you.